Good game, this one, Janusz. Villa 2, Man United 2. Fair result for you?
In the end, I think it was. I mean, obviously, Manchester United started great in the first 45 minutes, right? There was that real spark about them, I suppose, this intensity, maybe that we haven't seen before, and even the second goal, there was pressing, right? If you remember, it was a bad pass, and I think it was Diogo Dalot that anticipated well. Then Fred moved it on. So I think there was a little bit of everything. I think everyone got excited that maybe Ralf Rangnick somehow is finding a way in progress. But then Villa came through, and look, this before we even go into more details. This is one of those games that I, as a former player, truly believe that the Villa Park itself got I don't know what you want to call it, a point, or certainly help this Villa team to recover, because that second goal, I thought it was done and dusted, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get the second. Oh, well, Man United got their second goal after, 67 minutes, and it wasn't until Jalen Ramsey, who's a player, by the way, not just today, but this is a young kid that believes that he belongs. He got one back, and then he got the assist for Coutinho. It had to be him, didn't it? What a debut.
Yeah, no, it's been special. I mean, even on the first goal, although I still have to look. I'm not sure if, I don't want to take the assist away from him because I didn't get a quick look.
I think it was the United player that got the final
I think it was Fred that poked it away. But let's face it. I mean, Coutinho forced that poke or mistake because it was a 1-2 that he initiated. So, it doesn't really matter. He was involved on the play. And so was Buendia, who was outstanding, just like Jacob Ramsey. Those two were tremendous. Look at Coutinho came in, ran himself into the ground. Both fullbacks, really. Matty Cash, I think we're used to that. Of course, Luca Dini, after not playing for 6 weeks, came in. You could see him cramping up. I mean, the effort was massive. I mean, the mentality of that and the help from the supporters, man. They never gave up on them. I did at 2-0. I thought, what? Manchester United are going to find a way, but you could hear it throughout, right? The early mistake from Emi Martinez, they didn't give up on. You saw that reaction when he jumped into the stands was probably to thank them that they didn't, give up on him after the early goal. It was a tremendous game. I think a reminder how big of a club Villa are and what's in front of them. But look, if you're United, you have to look at that as 2 points lost, right? And under normal circumstance, I think you go to Villa Park, you're happy with a point, but the way the game developed, they've dropped it.
It's funny how football works, because Villa deserved something in the cup tie on Monday night and didn't get anything, and they end up taking a point from 2-0 down against Man United. Bruno Fernandes of old, we saw. Was that because Ronaldo wasn't playing and he had more space to be himself?
No, I think we've seen it throughout, even when Manchester United haven't been at their best, that those two can play together very, very well. Let's not forget, the numbers for Cristiano Ronaldo are good. Very often, Bruno Fernandes, has found him. So I don't think that's an issue. The issue today was, I think that Villa were fresher. You look at Manchester United, and you've got to ask a question of the manager, right? I mean, the first two substitutes came in the 89th minute. And, 10, 15 minutes earlier, you could see that Manchester United were running on their knees. I mean, that's a massive point. I was just looking at that. Obviously, when you watch it on TV, you don't always see what's happening on the sideline. But I was thinking to myself, he's got to put players in, right? You got Jadon Sancho on the back. I mean, the way the game was going, who knows? Maybe even third center back, right? You have, Maguire on the bench who didn't start a game. You have Phil Jones. I mean, you have many options there. You just throw fresh legs. I don't care who that is, but I was shocked, really shocked the way, especially after the first goal. I'm looking in United and they were done. I mean, physically, a lot of players looked done.
Well, he did bring Sancho on for Elanga after 78 minutes, and it was the last two subs that were made in the final minute. But at that stage, Manchester United shouldn't be 2 goals up and not win a game. So what is it? Because football's fickle. Because at 2-0 up, you're thinking, you know what? They've only lost to a late-ish goal against Wolves, and they've not lost any of the other games. They've won 4, and they've drawn a couple. So you're talking about the positives of Rangnick at 2-0 up, and then suddenly things can change so quickly, can't they?
Yeah, and it's a tough one, right? Because this was the game when you looked at the lineup and you can see the players that were missing, right? You say to yourself, just because they played, as you've said, just a couple days earlier against the same opponent, you say to yourself, well, this is not looking good for United. There's too many key players missing. Now we can argue, some of those players have they played well, but you still need those bodies. You still like to have them on the bench. You need the depth of that squad, right, to see you through. To me, it was a question of maybe lack of leadership there for Manchester United, right? I was looking towards the end of that game, and I'm thinking to myself, who is it? Who's that one or two players that is going to prevent this collapse? And maybe it's not a collapse because they did get something out of it, but it's hard to pinpoint, 2 or 3 or 4 players of old, if you will, that are going to see this result through.
Harry Maguire gets a fair bit of stick. Whether it's fair or unfair, that's up to you to decide. But when you talk about leadership, is that what Man United missed today? His leadership, because you've spoken about it. Were they too soft without Harry Maguire? Were they not streetwise enough to see out a 2-goal lead?
No, they look good for 70-some minutes without him, right?
Did.
If you look at Lindelof and you look at Varane, they were fine. So I don't know. Had he been on the field, maybe his presence alone, I don't know. If I were there, I could tell you, if that can prevent you from something. As I've said, maybe, just maybe, I would have put him on. Why not, right? You can reconfigure that just a little bit just to survive and see it through with him on the pitch, and maybe his presence, his height, everything, his leadership could play a role in that one. So it's a tough one there. I'm not going to question the fact that he didn't play from the start, because he hasn't been in his best form, that's for sure.
Finally, I think it's Villa's day. They came from 2 goals down. They got a debut goal from Coutinho. I don't agree with anybody saying they're in a false place in the league. No one's in a false place in the league midway through. You are where you deserve to be. However, 13th place, I would be staggered if Villa end up there or below there. With Coutinho, with Digne, with the players that they've got, the firepower that they have, can they get, maybe sneak a European spot, a Conference League spot, or is that asking a little bit too much?
Well, we've been saying this for the whole season, right? They're adding players, but if you look at Villa from the get-go, you'd say to yourself they were underachieving, right? Under Dean Smith. Mm-hmm. Even when Steven Gerrard came in, part of me said, look, the players haven't performed for their manager, who's been great and has gotten him to that place, right? So I think we've been saying that. I think integrating player, it's not always easy. Now, when everybody's back, look, Digne came in and looked the part, that's for sure. But there's going to be some questions of, who to play, Coutinho, or, who do you start and when and how? So, before that, they've lost, 3 straight? They weren't far away. This is how funny football is. There were a few, weren't far away from 4 straight losses in the Premier League. And I suppose we'd be talking about Steven Gerrard, right? Came in, there was that bounce, everybody was happy. And the next thing you know, they lose 4. They didn't. It's still a draw. So, they came back from a long, long way. I wouldn't be absolutely euphoric about this Villa performance. I think you give them something, but at the end of the day, they just got a point out of it as well.
Mm-hmm. It's the Liverpool old guard, Gerrard, bringing on his old teammate Coutinho, that denies United as Villa come back from 2 down and get a point.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.